there are so many people who think more must be done about Andrew, despite his titles now being in abeyance. He won't use them. The King's younger brothers dropped the title the Duke of York. As you know, he stepped away from his working royal duties. That was back in 2022. However, he does still live in the palatial royal lodge on the Windsor estate, a home for which it turns out he hasn't paid rent for 20 years, although he did pay for repairs to the building when he moved in. This is all, of course, after more and more information about Andrew's relationship with the paedophile Jeffry Epstein's become public. So what do you think are the next steps for the King, if any? What would you advise him to do if you could? 0207 862 22 22. We'll start with you on this, Albie. I mean, some people think there's nothing left in his repertoire. What else could he do?
I'm really angry about this situation, Vanessa. I'm angry about how it's been handled by the royal family. I'm angry that it's taken them so long to get to this position. I'm angry that we're sort of having this discussion about his titles being removed as if he's legally not still the Duke of York. He is legally still the Duke of York.
Yes, but he's not going to use
He's not going to use the titles. But
he's not going to be addressed by the title.
That's fine. But there was an act in 1917 which actually deprived some of Queen Victoria's relatives of their British titles because they fought against Britain with the Germans in World War I. There is precedent for removing the titles actually legally from royals who do very bad things. Now, some people would argue this doesn't meet that bar. Obviously,
well, we know that Prince Andrew continues to deny having done anything at all.
Precisely. But why? But then, if he continues to deny doing anything badly, why did the royal family pay Virginia Jeffry £12 million? It seems like, you know, a lot of money to pay for someone to do something that didn't happen.
Sorry to interrupt. He may be denying he's got any wrongdoing, but the fact is he spent a lot of time with Epstein. He's witness to something. Now,
well, you think so. He says he isn't. So let's come to your turn in a minute, Narinder. Let's just finish finding out what Albie wants to say about this.
I think that should be established, actually. I think the King should be saying to Andrew, he should be saying, Andrew, you're my brother, I love you, but I want you to do the right thing here.
Which is what?
I want you to cooperate with the investigations that are going on in the US so we can get to the bottom of what's happened. And if you did nothing wrong, that will all come out in the investigation. And it might be very difficult for the royal family from a PR perspective, but I think now the choice is between right and wrong.
All right, let's go to the PR supremo on the panel today, Nick Eade, because this is your job. This is meat and drink, PR, and how things look and how things ought to appear and how things do appear, not necessarily the same thing at all. In this instance, if Albie's suggestion were carried out by the King and he said, I insist that you go to New York, you know, you have to stand some kind of trial or have some kind of inquisition about what you did or didn't do and be transparent, how would that be in terms of PR?
Well, what's so difficult here is this is real crisis PR. This is one of the most specialist things that people do because they have to sort out this in a massive way. The royal family are in a complete themselves PR crisis. Now, if Prince Andrew were to go over there, then this will create even more noise and more negativity. I think, to your point, I think he should be almost exiled and completely struck off in many ways.
And how would you do that? Would you say you have to go and live?
You have to go live somewhere else. You have to live abroad. You cannot live in that house with your 32 bedrooms. You cannot live this life anymore. And they have to nip this in the bud because this is not going to stop. And this is really the opening, I think, of a floodgates of information that's going to come out about Andrew. And we know this with these emails coming from the US. The Epstein files haven't been opened completely. And so this is going to get much worse. So if he did go over to the US, and I do think there's obviously an argument there that he should be talking to the authorities. It's very important that he should. But he is not going to do it. I know, which is a shame.
Virginia Jeffry is dead. I just think talking about this as some sort of PR crisis when people's lives have been ruined and have been ended, and we still can't just say to Andrew, someone can't say to him, go and do the right thing and cooperate with the authorities. But this is where the royal family,
let's be honest, what's the King done? He's done nothing. He's uninvited him at Christmas. That's it. The fact is, there needs to be a full criminal investigation into the whole royal family. Who paid off the 12 million? They've silenced...
But it's not a criminal act to have paid off the 12 million.
Well, no, you've silenced a victim of sexual abuse.
But it's not a criminal act to do that. You know, you can't...
But that is morally, that is wrong.
No, but you cannot make sweeping allegations about things that you don't know anything about. What you could say, though, Narinder, in all seriousness, is Andrew denies any wrongdoing. He hasn't expressed any contrition. He isn't sorry, hasn't apologised. In the interview with Emily Maitlis, he never even referred to the victims at all. But if he really persists in maintaining he did absolutely nothing wrong, there's nothing to see here, I did nothing wrong, how can he possibly be made to apologise or made to make reparations or made to do anything if he doesn't think he did anything wrong?
The monarchy is an institution of this country. We can't have a country that is against child abuse and sex trafficking, but at the same time a monarchy that thinks they're above the law. They're not above the law. They are complicit. They did pay off 12 million. We need to know who paid that off. We need to know what the king knew. He could be a witness to criminality. We need to know what William knew. All they're bothered about is protecting their image. We need to protect victims of abuse. This is so important because we're not a democracy otherwise. How can we call ourselves a democracy? If he is involved, if he's not involved, but surely there needs to be some questioning. He refused to go to America and be questioned by the FBI. Now that's outrageous. Now the police are saying they're getting involved because he used taxpayers funded money to find out her social,
he asked a police protection officer to dig out some dirt on Virginia
so
Jeffrey.
There's a lot there, Vanessa.
But just because you decree that something's against the law doesn't mean it is against the law, Narinder. And certainly the whole point of all the machinations and manoeuvres have been to somehow keep him outside that scrutiny.
But what about accountability?
Well, what about accountability? I mean, that's an excellent question. Let's go to Mary in Belfast and see what Mary thinks ought to happen next. It looks like you might be in complete agreement with Narinder, Mary.
Yes, I definitely am. I think that everything that we're chatting about is a smokescreen. This exiling him, taking the titles off, which hasn't really been done. He still owns those titles, kicking them out of his house. The fact of the matter is that even if you didn't know anything about Jeffry Epstein's connection to Andrew before the Emily Maitlis interview, you certainly did after. Why are we not talking about the victims? Why is there not pressure put on Andrew to cooperate with the police, with the FBI? If this was a Joe Bloggs on the street and there was an allegation made against him, the police would be at their door. They would be investigated. So why is Andrew and the royal family different? And how can the royal family go to victim support groups, talk to survivors of domestic abuse or sexual violence and look those people in the eyes, knowing that they are covering for Andrew? No matter what way it looks, it's from the outside looking in, it looks like that family is covering for Andrew. There's a clip of William with Andrew at the Duchess of Kent's funeral.
Kent's funeral,
But that's only a clip. If you look prior to that, Andrew and William were chatting long before he puts his hand up to his mouth to hide whatever he's saying. And William gives Fergie a kiss and all the rest and acknowledges them. This is just a whole PR thing to protect the image of the royal family as usual. And there's nothing.
You don't think it could be possible, Mary, either A, that if Andrew had done any of the things people suggest that he did, and we know that he denies it, it would be absolutely the sort of thing you don't share with your brother or your sister-in-law or your nephew. If you were behaving in that way, if it were to be true, then you certainly wouldn't go and tell them the details and the exploits. So it is possible, isn't it, that they really had no idea, and that when he responded, I don't remember this, I never did this, I didn't do anything, I've got nothing to be ashamed of, they believed him. Sometimes brothers believe brothers, sometimes nephews believe uncles. I mean, the idea that they were deliberately concealing something, I think could be very unfair to say, may not be accurate. But are you convinced it is true?
It is true. You're telling me that this family didn't have access to knowing a lot more things about Andrew and Epstein than we, the public, knew. I mean, Epstein was being investigated by the police and the FBI in 2005 and 2006, before Beatrice's birthday party, 18th birthday party in Windsor, and yet at that birthday party, when it was knowledgeable over in America that he was being investigated by the FBI for sexual assaults of minors, that he was there with the royal family, which was in attendance as well by Peter, Zara, Sophie and Edward.
Yeah, Mary, I appreciate the call. I'm going to move on, sweetheart, just because we've got so many calls. But thank you very much. And thank you for keeping it, at least kind of not too angry, because people are getting very, very angry about this, aren't they? Let's go to Peter in Kent and see what he thinks. Peter, you feel very strongly about this too. What would you like to see the King do?
Right, I've only got a few minutes, so I've got the opportunity to say to you what an absolutely brilliant presenter and what a lovely lady you are. I had the pleasure of meeting you at the NTAs on the red carpet this year. You're an excellent presenter, and long may this programme continue.
Thank you very much. Okay. Well, it is. We're going to continue the whole of next year. We're delighted to say so. Peter, that couldn't be kinder of you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
I like you, Vanessa. I like you,
thanks.
Vanessa, because you speak from the heart.
Thank you.
Speak from the heart.
I'm trying to sort of keep a lid on this story a bit and not just get completely sort of vengeful and kind of violent about what should happen to Prince Andrew. But what do you think, Peter, should happen now?
Yeah, I'm coming straight to the point, and I haven't got long. One, I believe in what I believe in what one of your presenters said a minute ago, one of your person, that he should have been dealt with a long, long time ago. It shouldn't have come to this stripping of titles now. This should have happened a long time ago. Secondly, what should happen is, and I mean very, very polite, he's got enough money. Him and Sarah should be shipped abroad to a desert island, and then once a week have some surprise dropped off to them so they can live the rest of their life in idyllic bliss. Who are they going to upset on the desert island? The odd fish?
Why should they get bliss? Do you not think that Andrew should be being questioned by the police? He doesn't deserve bliss if this is true. Why should he get an island? I'd love to be sat on an island, free of any accountability. Why should he be free of any...
Well, you see, the Vanessa, as somebody said on another programme this morning, there's a lot more to come out. And what I feel really sad about, Vanessa, if I can say this to you very quickly, is the poor king and queen. They're going to Italy this week. That visit is going to be completely overshadowed because this isn't the last we hear of this. This will go on for months and months and months.
You're absolutely right about that. You're certainly right, Peter. Thank you so much. And thank you for the very kind compliments, which I really treasure. Thank you. Let's go to Karen in South Yorkshire. Karen, do you feel this has gone far enough now, or what do you think ought to happen next?
To be honest, I think that he's been persecuted enough. He should be left alone now. He's done nothing illegal because she was 17 years old, and nothing's been done about Trump, who was a friend of Epstein's too.
Well, not in this country because he's not our president, but a great deal's been said about it in America.
Karen, when you said that it wasn't illegal, there was sex trafficking of sex abuse victims. So there was sex traffic. That is actually illegal.
No, Karen knows that that's illegal, but she's saying that, it has yet to be proven in any shape or form that Prince Andrew did anything illegal. And So are
you saying that Virginia's lying? She's lied?
Well, don't ask her that. How could she possibly know that? Well, Karen, thank you very much indeed. It's good to hear from you. Let's go to Joyce in London. Joyce, you think, do you, that Royal Lodge is much too luxurious for Prince Andrew?
Oh, yes, I do. He should be kicked out of there and learn to support himself, because at the end of the day, Meghan and Harry paid how much to do up the cottage that they were living in, were given to them. They paid back the money and it was taken away from them. So therefore, I don't feel that he should. And yes, he's guilty. He talk about he didn't sweat. He was sweating like a pig in a Persian rug over a spit fire, but he didn't sweat. He's guilty as hell. And I've said this before regarding Harry. Let them leave Harry alone and can go on and deal with Andrew, because he is no good and all he does is bring shame, and they're all aware of it, and it should have been dealt with.
Right. I mean, obviously, I have to say that, which is the truth, that Prince Andrew denies any wrongdoing. So Joyce doesn't believe him, but I have to state again that he says he did nothing wrong. His lease, Joyce, goes on till 2078 or something. It's a hell of a long time. I certainly won't be around to see if he's still there or not then. It's a long old lease, Joyce, and, you can't just kick someone out, can you?
Oh, yes, you can.
Can you?
The poor young people that are struggling to pay rent, and their landlord turned up and said, oh, you got to go next week, and put their stuff out on the door. Some of them trying to get a better education and can't. What is he doing? He should be kicked out. If they can't do it, give me the chance and I'll go and take them out.
Joyce is absolutely right about people all over the country being kicked out by landlords.
It's true.
With the government's meant to be trying to change this.
The Renters Reform Bill.
Yes, told, you've got to go because we want to sell the flat, or we want to do this or do that. Goodbye. And they get given very short shrift and out they go. Joyce isn't wrong about that at all.
And I think at one point, Andrew was offered Harry and Meghan's old house, Frogmore Cottage.
He refused it.
Which is a beautiful home by most people's standards, but refused it. What's that all about?
Not grand enough.
It's not.
As Joyce said, not palatial
the gravity
enough.
of the situation.
Let's go to Dave in Sussex. Dave, you have a plan? Dave, yes. What would you do?
I'm in Essex. Sorry, Essex.
Sorry, Dave. Sorry, sweetheart.
I'm thinking about it. You go back hundreds of years ago when you had Henry VIII. What would he have done? He would have just cut his head off.
Yes, imagine if the king decided to do that, Dave. You'd probably go and sit there and knit a jumper and watch as the head plopped into the basket down below, like they did in the French Revolution. I mean, you know, obviously he's not going to cut his head off. We don't have capital punishment in this country anymore. What do you really think he should do, or do you think it's enough now?
I think he should be sent back to America and face the FBI.
But can you send someone, unless the Americans extradite him formally, you can't make an adult do things because you feel it would be morally appropriate. How do you make someone do it? I mean, unless he's formally extradited or arrested or charged, what can you do, Albie? The answer's nothing, isn't it?
It's very difficult. You can be convinced. And I don't think his family, from what I understand, have done enough to try and convince him to do the right thing. And that was my initial point. It is a choice between right and wrong. And I want to see Andrew make the right choice.
You don't think, Narinder, there's a kind of element of vengefulness? It becomes eventually kind of malicious if you just keep going and going. And if you know, heaven forfend, you were to hear that Prince Andrew had, I mean, I'm obviously hoping and praying this would never dream of happening, but, you know, taken the same route as Virginia Jeffrey, that his mental health had suffered so much as a result that he couldn't continue. How would you then feel, you see, if you keep pushing and pushing?
I know, but we haven't pushed and pushed. I think there's been a period where he's been kind of being allowed back in. No one's pushed and pushed. More revelations have come forward now, allegations. But the point being, if he's so innocent, just speak to the police. Give whatever information you've got and just tell them truthfully and honestly. And look, that people would be so happy at that. Be like, actually, he has gone to the police. Yeah. He's given whatever. He knows something, maybe not, but he's seen things. So just give whatever you know, because it's to help the victims. And it means that our royal family care.
I agree. It's about cooperation. He doesn't cooperate, and that's what's so difficult about this. And I think the same with Fergie as well. You know, we've seen that with her email. It just feels that so much is piling on them that from their point of view, they are so blind to what everyone else is saying. And that's what the big issue is here. And it feels like we're all being gaslit. And so everybody says, right, we're being gaslit by the whole royal family. And that makes them guilty by association. So this is why it's so difficult. And that's why he should really give himself up, or have some kind of communication with the FBI and actually talk to them. And like Narinder says, at least that will appease people. At least that will create a kind of line of communication. At least things will be not resolved.
It will take the heat off the royal family. It will take a bit of the heat of the royal family, because at the moment it's looking like the royal family aren't doing anything. Not inviting them at Christmas is not good enough. It's actually, you know, it is gaslighting, and we need to do more, because we have to show we're a country that cares about the victims of child abuse and sex trafficking.
And as I said, it's quite clear that this scandal isn't going away anytime soon. If the King was hoping that the announcement last Friday night was going to make all the difference, it patently hasn't and isn't, is it?